Alrighty, Halifax Transit Park and Ride update for the communities of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour. During my last session of community news, one of the things that I had mentioned was Councillor Hinsby's ongoing push and promise of a Halifax Transit Park and Ride for the communities of Mineville, Porters Lake, and Musquodoboit Harbour. And in 2012, only Porters Lake was provided a park and ride for the community of Porters Lake and not the community of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour. After the years of this ongoing promise that we heard from our Mayor of Halifax, Mike Savage, and David Hinsby, and after the years I also had not seen any sign of construction being done, it got me concerned, and I started looking into it. Why is these two possible projects being delayed? So I looked into it, and I called Mayor Mike Savage. Me and David Hinsby are not on the same page because I was not a supporter of his, because I was one of the people who decided to vote for a change in the council seat this October 17th, 2020 election. And I decided to contact Mayor Mike Savage, and Mike Savage actually called me back, believe it or not, on the phone, and we had spoken. He had stated that he is going to look into the Halifax Transit Park and Ride, what happened to the potential project for the community of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour, and they are going to get back to me, but chances are, like I said to the community of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour, brace yourselves for a negative response, what we may get, because I predict we are, because I had heard from a person from the Halifax Transit Facebook page who had heard the facts. I'm not saying it's true or not, this is just through the grapevine, that Halifax Transit project manager, had terminated the potential Halifax Transit Park and Ride for the communities of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour. Not going to happen, according to the information that I was provided. This information is not official, it's not in yet. I have not heard back from Mayor Mike Savage, because Mike Savage, usually when he tells me that he's going to call me back, normally he does, because Mike Savage is my former Member of Parliament when he was the Member of Parliament for Dartmouth Harbour, when I once lived in Dartmouth. And Mike Savage and myself have a good connection, and I am going to push to see what happened on this potential project that was promised to the community of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour. And like I said, I'm going to give you the answer. I'm not saying it's going to be a good answer, but one way or the other, you people are actually going to get the answer and not listen to the full of baloney, ongoing failed election promises that we had heard from Councillor Hinsby and the current Mayor of Halifax, Mike Savage. David Hinsby had been advocating for this Halifax Transit Park and Ride, which is good, but we don't want to see advocate, we want to see it in action, we want to see this constructed. The information provided to myself, the reason why Porters Lake got a park and ride in the community of Porters Lake in 2012 is because it was grandfathered in with their clause, whatever agreement with the city had with the community of Porters Lake. And because of the grandfather clause, something like Hubbard's, that they had got their transit park and ride. My concern is the community of Mineville, that the Halifax Metro X buses, even from Dartmouth to Porters Lake, the bus has to pass through the community of Mineville to gain access to the community of Porters Lake. I don't understand why the community of Mineville cannot have a park and ride constructed, because if it does, the ridership is going to increase instantly, and it's going to be very successful. The average pass mark for ridership is 14 people per trip. The community of Porters Lake, before the pandemic, had been receiving 16 to 20 passengers per trip in the morning, but had been falling below that margin in the afternoon. Maybe two trips, 4 o'clock and 4:30, they'll have their 20 passengers per trip going back home. But the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:30, and 6:30 run, they had fallen below the 14 passenger trip margin. But if the community of Mineville was to have that park and ride installed, that problem will be quickly fixed, and they will have the Halifax Transit ridership to where it needs to be, sustainable and dependable. But till then, if that park and ride is not constructed, the low ridership and the loss of that service could be a reality. My concern is the community of Porter's Lake has enough people to keep it going, but it's not dependable. For a Halifax Transit bus, if it has below the 14 passengers per trip, it sustains you're at risk of having your community services reduced or being terminated altogether. So either way, one way or the other, I am going to provide you the answer to this delayed project of the Halifax Transit Park and Ride for the community of Mineville and Musquodoboit Harbour. Again, I can't say I'm going to give you the answer what you want to hear, but one way or the other, come high hell, hot water, you are going to get the answer. So anyways, that's community news, and I thank you for tuning in, and we'll hear from you again. Thank you for